All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Navigating Now. This is episode 258 on the Thaudium Navigating Now virtual roundtable series. My name is Adrienne Spazzillo. I'm a senior consultant at Thaudium. And today I have with me Julie Bauke. So Julie Bauke believes that your career should serve your life, not the other way around. She brings more than 25 years of experience in helping professionals really craft a career that serves your life. She is a renowned author and speaker at a number of national media outlets, and we're so excited to have her with us here today. So welcome, Julie.
Thank you. We're here to talk about my favorite topic, careers.
Yes, and also I'm extremely lucky because I grew up down the street from Julie, so we have a long history going back for a long time. And Julie, I love your business and the title that you hold at your company, which is the Chief Career Happiness Officer.
That's the thing about being self-employed. You can call yourself anything you want. There's no corporate overlord telling you what you can and can't call yourself. But I just have always believed in the concept of career happiness. Mm-hmm. So I thought, well, if I want to call myself something, I might as well call myself the Chief Career Happiness Officer. Mm-hmm. If I'm feeling really feeling myself, it's Chief Career Happiness Officer of the universe. So that's just really what my passion area has always been. I think we can have a lot more happiness in our careers and by extension, the rest of our lives. Mm-hmm. It's not just I'm happy at work and then I'm miserable elsewhere. It all blends together, especially now, because technology has literally erased that line between work and home. Mm-hmm. We're accessible in a lot of cases 24/7. We can work from home. It's no longer an 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 world. And so to me, that means it's much more an imperative that you like what you do, because you really never get away from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if it's always something that's going to be around you, I'm hearing you say, okay, why wouldn't you make this part of your life something you really enjoy?
Yes. And it's a ripple effect. I mean, it shows when you like what you do, you're just a better, more pleasant person to be around. Mm-hmm. If you think about times when you've been in jobs where you were miserable, I'm going to guess that you didn't turn that misery off when you got home or when you're out with your friends. You probably just complained a lot. And so imagine the opposite. If you actually were in a job that you were happy with, imagine how different your whole life would be. And so I believe that to the bottom of my heart. And so that's really what my life's work has been around.
I love that. And so we're going to talk a little bit about in our time together today, how do you actually go about crafting that career that serves the life you want? And Julie has actually run a program for us at Thaudium called the Career Catalyst, where we unpacked kind of through the analogy of a stool, what are the different aspects you need to have in place to really achieve that career happiness. So Julie, I'd love for you to unpack that for our listeners.
So, I came to this, I got so frustrated. You hear people saying, oh, follow your passion. What are you passionate about? And that falls flat because first of all, it's not actionable. It's not practical. And, it's not enough is what I would say. So in all my years working with people who'd lost their jobs, and in a lot of cases, no fault of their own, and sometimes they walked away, I learned through I'll call all these folks case studies, I learned what real career happiness looks like. And for sure, no surprise, it is very different for each of us. Mm-hmm. Very different. Mm-hmm. If you told me about your job, I might think, oh, that sounds horrible. And I might hear about somebody else's job and say, oh, I want that. So it's a very much an inside job. It's a unique situation. So what I came up with was like a table or a stool or a chair, something that has 4 legs. All 4 of those legs have to be stable or you will fall over. And so career happiness is just like that. So leg 1 is you need to at least like what you do, the stuff that's on your desk. Like it. If you're lucky, you love it. The second is you need to be good at it. Or if you're lucky, you're great at it. Mm-hmm. If you like something and you're not good at it, you won't get hired to do it. Or you won't keep that job very long. Mm-hmm. Or if you're good at something but you don't like it, generally that's a sign of a burnout. Mm-hmm. So that's 2 legs. And those 2. The third is, it's what you can get paid to do. If you like to do something and you're good at it and you can't get paid to do it, in other words, there's no demand for it in the market, then that's just a hobby, right? And then
it's like me singing. I like it.
Yes,
probably
no one's going to pay you for it. No. But it's also, what do I need to make in my life? What's the amount of salary I need to make? And of course, is there a demand for it? Mm-hmm. And the 4th leg, this is the big one. And that really is, you need to work in a place, in a way that you can be successful. And that's culture. You need to work in the right culture for you. And I think that's what's so important when I see these, 100 best companies to work for. I always think, for who? Like, they might have scored overall high, but it doesn't mean that it's the right place for you. And so understanding what kind of workplace, what kind of culture you work in, what kind of leadership, understand, are you working remotely, or do you have a hybrid? Are you in the office? What's your commute like? And this gets to leadership too. This is probably no surprise, but when I ask people to think about the worst job they ever had, they'll say, okay, so here's the four-legged table or stool.
Yeah.
When you think about the worst job you ever had, and then I'll say, now, which one of these legs here was the one that was the problem or the most wobbly? 8 times out of 10, it's the fourth one, culture. It's leadership.
Okay.
Most people will say, because a bad leader can have such an impact on your life, that's usually why people leave when it comes to that fourth leg. And so but all four of them, you can have a great leader, but if you don't like what you're doing or you aren't good at it, again, you're not going to be around for very long. And so it's this mix. But what's tricky about that is your definition of career happiness is going to change as you change and as your life and priorities change. So what worked for you and made you wildly happy 5 years ago probably won't 5 years from now. And so it's that constant vigilance that you have to have in order to make sure that, frankly, that your table is stable. It's really what it is. And you have to be the one to figure out if it's wobbling, what's wrong, what's not working, and can I fix it? Having that kind of a mindset is much healthier than, I'm just going to sit here and hope nobody sees how miserable I am and I hope I don't end up on the layoff list, because you will. And so you always want to be proactive. You always want to be making those decisions about your career. It's not up to anyone but you, really, at the end of the day.
I love that. And so kind of what I'm hearing from you is, okay, what do you like to do?
Yeah.
What are you good at? What can you get paid for based on the lifestyle you want? And then in the culture and place that you want to be. And so if someone is, for example, like trying to interview for a new job, what's the best way you have them try to suss out if this is a place I can be successful?
Yeah. It's about asking the right questions through the interview. It's a combination of things.
Okay.
Go to Glassdoor. See what the people who have worked there and work there say about it.
Okay.
Pay close attention with everybody you talk to. Ask them. And it's okay to say, what do you like about working here? Or what's it like to work here? People's faces a lot of times will be like, oh, and they'll be like, okay, I get it. Do these seem like people that you can be successful with? Do these seem like your tribe? And I think one of the analogies I always use is, not every place is a fit for you. So for instance, if you are a creative, you love the type of environments where people are throwing stuff against the wall, people are bringing their dogs to work, and that's you. If you go work for, let's say, a very buttoned up insurance company, you're not going to be happy. And so culture matters. So the way to first assess a culture is understand, first of all, where do you work best? Who am I? We convince ourselves, I can make anything work. No, you can't. Yeah. No. And so you talk to people, you ask questions, what keeps you here? If you get into an interviewing process where people are afraid to answer those kind of questions, that's probably all you need to know.
Gotcha. So if they're not being forthright.
Yeah. And you'll just get a vibe too.
So
pay attention to your gut. I think a lot of times, especially very analytical left-brain people, are like, gut, what's that? You will get a feeling as to whether it was some place that you feel like, wow, this really feels like a place where I could be successful. These people were kind of nodding along at the same things. So there's a feel to it as well.
And when I've worked with some career coaching clients, what I've figured out is if they can articulate their story and their journey of where they've gone, and they can, when they're in an interview for a job, and if it's already aligned to what do you like, what do you do well, it's so easy to interview because you are genuinely excited about that type of company and what you're going to be working on. So it takes a lot of anxiety out of the system when you're secure in what you want to do.
And I would say too, think about if you're having a hard time thinking about this, think about when have I been most successful and happy in my job? And then go back and like break down the elements of working there. What do you like about it? People were nice. What's not enough? What, so you break it down. What did I like about being there? And then the opposite. When was I the most miserable? Why? What was it? Was it that leader who was like tapping his watch if I walked in at 8:01? Or the fact that, it was a micromanage. I mean, you have to figure out when was I happiest and why? When was I unhappiest and why? And those are clues as to what you value and what to go toward and what to stay away from.
And I mean, we know right now how tough the job market is. Like a lot of people I'm talking to are just like, I'm interviewing, I'm getting to the last stages and then I'm not getting the job, or I'm scared to leave my current company.
Yeah.
So what's your advice to people right now in this time?
Yeah. I love today's culture is so funny because we have to make up words like job hugging.
Oh, yeah.
That's hanging on for dear life and hoping you don't get fired. And none of this is new. When the job market is tight, people will think 2 and 3 times before they initiate a job search. And you should. Versus during COVID when it was like crazy, like hiring, big raises, et cetera. It was like a free for all. But so I'm not saying that when the job market is tight, you shouldn't look for a job, because if you're miserable and you are or you really believe the company's going in the wrong direction, or that your department is on the chopping block, one of my favorite phrases is be ready to stay and be ready to go. And so ready to stay is you have to make sure that you're doing a good job. I mean, if there is a layoff and you're career unhappy and you don't like what you're doing and you're not good at it, you will be on the list. So what can you do to navigate your current situation so that you're in the best possible situation to keep what you have until it might be time for you to go? Am I doing a good job? Am I in the right job? Am I having career conversations with my leader? Is my skill set of value as this organization moves forward? And so make sure that you're employable where you are so the decision to move on is yours. But let's say you're miserable and you're looking around and you're saying, man, I don't think this is going to last much longer. You have to take a time. So ready, aim, fire is always a smart phrase for a lot of parts of life. But ready and aim really is, why do you want to leave where you are? And what do you want next? Where am I going to go next? What do I want more of, less of, and never again next? Not just, not just anything that's not here. Because so many times we jump from something instead of to something. And I call that jumping dumb, because we're saying, I got to get out of here. And we grab the first thing that comes along. I also understand that sometimes you have to. I get it. If you have really bad health and this job is making you sick, or you're unemployed and you're about to lose your house, I got it. Sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do. But if you're sitting at work saying, I really want to change jobs, the right next several steps is not just go hang out on job boards. It's really ask yourself some hard questions. What do I want to do next? What pieces of this job or my career so far do I want to take with me into my next thing? And what do I want to leave behind? I tell people it's really quite, it's a scary thing to do because we feel self-conscious doing it. But one of the most powerful things to do is write your own job description for your next job. Take a blank paper and just say, okay, I now have access to every job in the universe. And I am going to write my own. I'm going to say, here's the one I want. And so you just start writing down, I'd spend my time doing this. Here's what I'd be responsible for. Here's who I'd be working with. Here's how I'd spend my days. I'd do this, a proportion of this. I'd do 20% of this, 30% of this. I'd work for these kind of people. I'd work in this city. I might work 2 days a week in the office and 3 days from home. In other words, we talk about a scale of 1 to 10, that perfect 10. Write out your perfect 10. It's so powerful, but we're so like, oh, I can't have that. I'm not, who do I think I am? And all this head trash starts to come in that says that doesn't exist. Well, maybe the 10 doesn't exist, but maybe the 8 does. But if you don't know what the 10 looks like, you won't be able to identify your 8. And so you have to really start imagining what that might look like. Then you have something to compare the opportunities that come your way to. So for instance, if you know what your 10 is, job A comes along.
Yep.
And you're like, well, this is okay. Then another one comes along, job B comes along. Oh, this is better. If you don't have your 10, you may not recognize that one's a 4 and one's a 5.
Mm-hmm.
And 5 may be better than 4, but it's still a 5.
Mm-hmm.
And you're probably going to be unhappy. And so I think we have to be realistic, but you also have to know what you want. In what other area of life are we not? You have to know what you're going toward, or you won't find it. It's like getting in a car and just, starting to drive without putting something in Google Maps if you don't know where you're going. And your career's the same way. And so start to imagine what that ideal might look like.
I love this idea of just starting with a blank piece of paper, because I think in our mind we think, oh, I would love to have that job, or I'd love to have that promotion here. But if you actually take the time to write down, what would my day look like? And does that match with what I'm good at and what I like to do? A lot of times it's kind of a wake-up call of, okay, is that really the right North Star that I want to be driving?
Or am I just responding or am I just doing that because somebody told me I should?
Yep.
Or I'm going for that promotion because it's a better title. And isn't that what we're supposed to be doing in our careers? Not anymore.
Yeah, it's much more of a zigzag.
That's the healthy way to live your career, not start on the bottom rung of the ladder and climb for 40 years. I mean, how miserable is that?
Okay, so I'd love to. So we've talked a lot from an individual perspective, what you can do to kind of figure out how you want to craft that job, career that serves your life.
Yeah.
I'd love to think about it from like a leader's perspective in a company.
Yeah.
How can you help empower your people to have some of that alignment in your organization?
Yeah. This is the simplest thing, but it's the thing that is not done. And that is, I don't know, talk to them. The Career Catalyst program that I put you guys through sends each individual through a process, so they have to answer a lot of questions about what they want next before they go talk to their leader. And so if you're an individual in an organization, I would say you have to take the initiative to figure out what you want and have those conversations. From a leader's perspective, you have to be open to those conversations. You have to talk to your people and say, what do you think you'd like? What do you think you'd like your next step to be? And it doesn't have to be, I want to be the manager of, but it's, I think a better question or an easier question for your people to answer is, what would you like to do more of and less of in your next job? If I could take something off your plate, no promises here, but if I could take something off your plate, what would you want me to take off your plate? You might find that the person at the other end of the row wants more of that on their plate. And so leaders are so afraid, it seems like, to have those conversations because they're still living in a top down, I'll tell you what to do, and if you're not happy, go elsewhere. That this conversation that says, I really have gotten great feedback on this thing that I do. And is that your perspective? Yes, you are really good at that. Okay, well, I look at my next step in this organization. I'd like a role where I do more of that because it really does. I feel powerful and productive, and I feel like that's of great value. So it's both sides of the desk, but you have to, this old sort of boomer, and I always feel like I can say that since I'm a boomer, this old boomer, I'll tell you when it's time to move. When it's time to move, I'll tell you. Until then, just sit there and shut up and do your job. No one ever comes out and says it that harshly, usually. But that's what people feel. And we don't spend enough time giving our people the opportunity to talk about their jobs and what they want because we're so afraid and we're so busy. And we're afraid that, boy, if they tell me they want to go into marketing, but I don't think they can go into marketing, now are they going to keep bugging me about it? And so it just becomes, I, the leader, the all-seeing wizard, is going to tell you where you need to go. That's not realistic.
Yeah, so it's having realistic conversations to empower people about, like, what do you want to do more of? What do you want to do less of? Let's see if we can make that happen, or at least it's an understanding of what drives them and what's going to motivate them moving forward. Yeah, and we also have to create the type of environment, because I know there are a lot of people that say, I don't want to have those kind of conversations because knowing my leader, it's going to come across as I'm not committed, and I might end up on the layoff list, which just makes me so sad, because you should be able to have those conversations. But if your person, let's say somebody on your team, through a lot of thought and discussion, realizes that their next best step is not something your organization offers, you don't just kick them out the front door. How we treat people coming in and going, every step in the career life cycle is an indicator of our culture. And not everybody's meant to be at your company forever. In fact, they won't. Very few. And so how do we facilitate that and normalize it?
is really what it is.
And what would you say younger generations are looking for when it comes to support within their careers?
Well, the biggest complaint about Gen Z is they want more, they want too much too soon when they aren't really qualified and capable yet. So so our generation is like, I don't know anything, you have to teach me everything. The younger generation sometimes are like, I know everything, I can teach you everything, because they are better at certain things, especially technology-wise. Mm-hmm. So if I, as a boomer, am sitting at work and I say, can you show me how to download this PDF? I have just like given up my authority. It's sort of like, oh, here we go. It's like when you go see your parents and they messed up their remote control. Mm-hmm. And so that has caused a lot of younger people to think that they know everything. But you don't know what you don't know. And what older people have is wisdom and experience, the ability to see around corners. And we have never, as a culture, valued that, which is why it's so hard for people of a certain age to get jobs now, and has been, is because we don't value that, is that we value the young, fresh ideas. But young, fresh ideas generally come with immaturity and lack of wisdom. And so to younger people, I say, just become a sponge. There's a lot of things, give back wherever you can, add value wherever you can, but you put together a team of mentors, of people that'll help you through these situations. And because it's a multi-generational workforce, I think is just like a multi-generational friend group. I think there's benefits that we all bring. And yes,
to the table.
We do get impatient with each other, just like we all got impatient with our parents, when they were struggling with things. I'm sure my kids get frustrated with me. It's just normal, but at work there's such a gap between boomers and the way they look at work and Gen Z and the way they look at work. I think it's the biggest gap we will ever see. Wow. Ever. We're really in a real shift here. And boomers and older Xers especially are really struggling with it. And the younger people are, get out of our way. You see it. It's like, well, when are you going to retire so I can have your job? When are you going to move so I can have your house? So there's this impatience that is really, really frustrating to older generations. So it's, there's lots of opportunity, I would say, to close that gap through some good, meaningful conversation. And older people too recognize the younger people do bring some great ideas and perspectives that you don't have, and they're not invaluable just because you don't have. I mean, they're not silly just because they're not, just because it's not what you do or what you know. Everything changes.
And I think it's about making the right level of like empowerment and autonomy for that group of people to really bring their ideas forward and feel like, okay, this is a place I can actually make a difference. Yeah. That's what I've seen that they're really looking for.
Yeah. Too. And not that every idea they put out there is going to be a great one. You said two words that I think are just accountability plus autonomy is really what everybody wants at a very deep level.
Yeah. Say more about that, Julie.
So autonomy, all this pushback of come back to the office 5 days a week. It's like this battle between people who say, you've got to be here. It's teamwork, blah, 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 blah. Acting like being in the office 5 days of work is just a paragon of productivity where we know it isn't. And so people want autonomy to live their lives. And so they don't want, so every time a CEO comes out and says, everybody back to the office, there's some 17-year-old creating something to override like the keystroke measurement or, it's a constant fight. So if we said, what if we had a culture where we gave you flexibility, and that's going to depend on the job you have and et cetera, what your customers need. But the other side of that coin is we're going to hold you accountable for what we hired you for. And so there's this fear that if I give you autonomy, you'll be sitting on a beach ignoring my calls. Not if they are also accountable and you're very clear and you hold them to what they're accountable for. As long as they get it done, as long as things are getting done, why does it matter if you can put your eyes on them every moment of the day? And so that right blend between accountability and autonomy really is where I think that's how we treat people like adults.
I love that combination.
Yeah.
What's your prediction for the future of this return to work?
Well, we're never going back to the way it was. Okay. No, that ship has way sailed. In fact, every time a CEO comes out and says everybody back, I read the federal government's mandate and I read Ohio's mandate. Okay. They had loopholes in them all over the place. If your people, blah, 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 they can work from home. So I think even these mandates that are coming out recognize that it can't be a one size fits all.
Okay.
I don't think we're ever going to, to me, I think the healthiest mix is hybrid. Where we do get together, but we don't just come in because it's Free Taco Tuesday. We come in because we're doing something meaningful. And that way people will come in. This term coffee badging is another fun one where it's like, oh yeah, you go in, I'm here, get your coffee, let people see your face, and then slip out the back door. And so all this energy that we're spending trying to outfox each other is crazy. So why don't we let people understand what's expected of them in this job? You're accountable for this. This is what great performance looks like. And we're going to have a team call every Friday at 2 or whatever. This is but then how you get it done, as long as you're getting it done in a way that needs to be done, you do you.
Yep.
And try that. Do a pilot group. See what happens. That's what we did during COVID. If you try something like that in a pilot, you will get such adoption because people are like, I don't want to lose this.
Right.
Put your people in charge of solving their own problems, the office problems. Have them help you come up with a solution instead of just being so heavy-handed. I think anybody that says come back to the office 5 days a week and we're going to be checking is headed the wrong direction because they aren't going to be able to attract, retain, and engage the people they want to.
And I think this links back to the fourth stool in a place, in a way that really works for your life, because people have changed expectations on what they want. And I've heard like the search for remote job is like the number one thing. People are still just trying to find so they can have that right balance that they want.
So you look like your Allstate Insurance went 100% remote, sold their buildings. They have so many people applying to work there, so they get the pick of the pool.
Wow. So they get the top talent that they want to drive.
So if you're like, no, you got to be in here from 8 to 5 every single day, a lot of the people who have options are going to say no thanks, and they're going to keep moving. It's just human nature, common sense.
Another thing I know you've talked about is this idea of moving from like a loyalty culture to a performance culture. Can you unpack that a little bit for us?
I love this. So the CEO of AT&T came out and said it. He took a lot of heat for it. And I was reading what he said, and I'm like, yeah, he's right. So the word loyalty, it's never been a thing. I'm sorry, it hasn't. I think back at the big layoffs started in the 90s. And that's when it was like, whoa, wait a minute. You mean I don't have a lifetime employee pass here? And because up until then, employers didn't really lay people off or let people go. And it doesn't mean they were loyal to you. It's just they just didn't do it. It wasn't part of what they did. As soon as that started happening, people who started being laid off in the 90s, and then people who saw their parents being laid off, 90s, 10s, recently, the simplest way to put this is your company wants you until the day they don't. The minute they decide they can live without you, they will. I mean, it's just, you have to know that. A corporation cannot be loyal to a human being. So I would say, and then you hear people say, after all, I was so loyal to them for so long. And I have great sympathy for that. But I also have this deep inside me reaction that says, that's your fault. You should, of course, operate with integrity. And as long as the job is serving your needs, and you're growing and you're developing, stay. It's awesome. But the CEO of AT&T came out and said, hey, something as simple as we're going to pay you for 2 weeks of work, and then you come back again, we pay you for 2 more weeks of work. So we're going to a performance culture, because AT&T used to be one of the big bells, big telecommunication companies. And you could never get let go from there. And so he's saying, this is about performance. And if you're not adding value and performing, we don't need you. The challenge with that is, because on its surface, it's like, well, yeah, if I was running a business, you want your people to be adding value. The other side of that is it's very hard to build a culture that people feel really good about and will give their all in and really engage in if they feel like that's hanging over their heads. Really? So it's like that. And you're a particular leader. So within AT&T, let's take that as an example. Different leaders within AT&T will lead differently. And some will create a culture where people are like, yeah, I love working for these people and with these people. And it'll still feel like it's not a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So when a company says we're like family, I'm like, oh, please. Unless you actually are family,
Mm-hmm.
you're not family.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry.
And that analogy of some companies talking about we're a high performance sports team.
Yes.
We are a professional sports team. We want to run like the NFL. Like if you're not performing, you're not going to be the pitcher.
Right.
Like it's very black and white, but it's,
Isn't that
kind
Netflix
of
culture?
conflicted.
Is it Netflix culture? Yeah. We're, put out good work or we don't need you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's versus sort of that employer as benevolent parent.
Right.
We're just going to love on you for 40 years until we give you the gold watch.
Mm-hmm.
And you can feel good about that. And in the 90s, even when we shifted from our pension plans being from defined benefit to defined contribution, so you could take them with you, that was part of that.
Yep.
I don't have to stay at this company until I die to get a pension. I can take it with me.
Totally. And I think this then it connects again why you need to be in a place that you can do good work that you like, because where are you going to be able to perform to the level that companies are requiring today?
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's important to be in the right job.
Yeah, I love that.
Because if you're doing a job you're not good at or don't like, it's like walking around with shoes on that are the wrong size.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be miserable and everything in your body's going to hurt. And so take control of it now and say, what's important to me right now and how can I get it in at work?
I love that. Well, as we wrap up today, I'd love to ask you a couple rapid fire questions, Julie. Okay. So what are you reading, watching, or listening to right now?
I am like all over the place. And so reading, I am reading and listening to, so I got addicted to The Gilded Age on HBO.
Okay.
And so then I got so fascinated by the Astors and the Vanderbilts and that whole period and how women were so key in building the country we have today, but they aren't given the credit for it. So I have all these books now on women who started things like Planned Parenthood, the women who took on the campaign to have women be able to vote, really against all odds, just really badass women. So I'm reading badass women books. But then don't be surprised if you catch me watching Real Housewives of the OC either. So
we got both ends of the spectrum here.
That's right.
I love that, Julie. Okay. What's a workplace trend that needs to die?
In the office 5 days a week, period.
In the office.
And saying we're a family. Yeah. Treating people like children. Sometimes we need to because they're not performing. But in that case, move on.
Mm-hmm.
We need to hire slow and fire quick. And that just puts a lot of onus on each person to say, where I get in my career is up to me. And yes, it's not all up to me, but I have to be the driver of this bus.
Mm-hmm.
And employers need to get on board in terms of giving people those tools to do that if they want to attract and retain people. And so a loyalty-based culture, come in 8 to 5 because I said so, that kind of stuff is thankfully on its way out, but it's kicking and screaming on the way out.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Okay. And then what's your go-to pump up song before a big speaking engagement?
Mr. Blue Sky by Electric Light Orchestra.
I don't know it. I'm going to have to listen to
Mr. Blue
it.
Sky, ELO. Youngin? I bet your mom knows. Go home and listen to Mr. Blue Sky.
Okay, I'll put it on tonight when I get back. And if any viewers want to get a hold of you to learn more, what's the best way to contact you?
Probably on LinkedIn.
Okay.
On LinkedIn, Julie Bauke, Bauke on LinkedIn, or our website is thebaukegroup.com.
Amazing. Well, Julie, you're just one of my favorite people to talk to. You're an incredible mentor, and you've helped so many people really figure out how to craft that career that serves their life.
Thank you for inviting me.
So everyone, we just want to thank you for joining today. We go live every Thursday at 3 p.m. Central, and you can find today's episode at thaudium.com/